Our lead story today, Japan. Now, Monday, we learned that Japan had unexpectedly slipped into a recession in the third quarter, and the news renewed concerns about the world economy. Japan's unexpected recession prompted calls for economic stimulus from one of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's key advisors. The advisor suggested tax cuts and cash handouts as part of a stimulus package valued at more than $25 billion. Economists commonly define a recession as 2 or more consecutive quarters of shrinking gross domestic product, as reported on an annualized basis. And that is exactly what happened in Japan. Now, in April, a consumption tax went into effect in Japan and hit consumers very hard. Some economists believe that this is what caused the economy to contract in the second and third quarters. The taxes were meant to combat the nation's enormous government debt, which is the biggest among developed countries at about 2.5 times the size of Japan's total economy. GDP data released Monday showed that the economy fell into recession in the July-September period, shrinking 1.6% on an annualized basis, following a 7.3% contraction in the previous quarter. The data added to evidence that Japan's government and central bank have underestimated the impact of the April tax increase, valued at around $70 billion a year. Opponents of the tax increase have warned that it was wrong to impose greater tax burdens on consumers before the economy had fully recovered and emerged from nearly 2 decades of deflation. The result of this tax is reminiscent of the late 1990s, when a consumption tax increase contributed to a recession which forced the government to borrow and spend even more. So, what will Japan likely do to dig out of this latest recession? That's right, you guessed it, quantitative easing. What else? Now, on October 30th, the Bank of Japan surprised investors by announcing it planned to further quantitative easing. Now, this was surprising because this announcement came the day after we learned that the dollar gained about 7% against the yen. And as we all know, QE is a currency depreciating stimulus. Listen, I've said it before, and I will say it again. The U.S. economy has some serious problems, but when I look around at the economies of other developed nations like the EU, like Japan, I certainly breathe a sigh of relief.